from Massey Trains here again. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well. Today we have a fantastic engine. I'm really excited to check out with you guys today. We have the brand new, recently released Long Island Railroad Camelback in the Nassau Lino Operating Engineers paint scheme. What I mean by that is, this is an engine that has the Russian iron boiler. This is a one-of-a-kind locomotive that is only 75 in existence, and it is a fantastic engine that we're going to check out right now. So let's get started. So as I said before, this is a brand new locomotive that just released from Lionel towards the very end of this year. This is probably one of the hottest legacy steam locomotives you can get right now. In fact, this particular piece is completely sold out, as well as the normal Long Island Railroad version, as well as the Strasburg Railroad and the Blue Comet variants of this engine. But today we're focusing specifically here on the NLOE, as we are here at the Nassau Lino Operating Engineers, so very fitting to review this locomotive. As I said before, this is a very special locomotive. Not that many of these are around, and they are since long gone. And it's the rarest engine that I do not own. So this engine is actually owned by a fellow club member here at the NLOE, or O-Gauge Railfan88 on Instagram. He has this engine, and he's kind enough to let me review it for him. And I am very eager to showcase to you guys a lot of the awesome features that this engine has. So let's check it out. So let's get the elephant out of the room. What the heck is a Camelback? So the Camelback steam locomotive was dubbed this name specifically, was because it has the cab in the center of the locomotive, similar to how, a camel would have the hump in the center of its body. So it's a very fitting name for such an oddball, unique locomotive that has been loved by rail fans and enthusiasts alike for many years. So the engine is dubbed that, as I said, because the cab is in the center of the boiler. Now, that is a horrible design choice, and a lot of railroad crews despise working on these locomotives for many reasons. The main reason being the fact that the drivers are directly under the floor inside the cab. So a lot of the times, these engines would have issues where the running gear would, if in an event of a crash, would go directly up into the cab, and that is no good and would be almost an instant death for the operator of the locomotive, or the fireman even. There were two operators inside the engine. There's a fireman on this side, and there is a engineer on this side, fireman on the opposite side. And the fireman would actually be on the outside in the elements, which was another reason why these engines were so despised by railroad crews. However, these were successful locomotives, and they served several railroads, especially the Long Island Railroad, which we're going to get into right now. Now that we got the history of the locomotive out of the way, let's discuss the actual details and features of the Nassau Lino Operating Engineers exclusive engine here. So what makes this engine so different compared to the catalog version, as you can see right off the bat, is the striking, beautiful Russian iron boiler. This is probably the main feature of this locomotive that makes this engine stand out than anything else. And some features I'm going to point out to you, because I'm not going to go over everything that this engine does, because so many other people have reviewed the Camelback already. But this is only the second video of this engine getting featured, and I want to showcase some of the other highlights of the engine specifically. So the Camelbacks were sent to the Long Island Railroad in the early 1900s. These were one of the most common steam locomotives seen on the Long Island Railroad up until the early 1920s or 30s, where they were getting replaced by a lot more modern and heavy industrial steam, like some of the engines you see behind the Camelback here. The Camelbacks were donated to the Long Island Railroad by the Pennsylvania Railroad because the Pennsylvania Railroad had 3 engines that they tried when the Camelback was brand new. Although the Pennsylvania Railroad quickly saw, as smart as they were, they already noticed right away with all the flaws that the Camelbacks had, so they dumped them to their sister railroad, the Long Island Railroad. And that ended up benefiting the Long Island Railroad because these engines were very common in commuter service and served the railroad for many, many years in the early stages of the Long Island Railroad's history. So aside from the beautiful Russian iron boiler, we also have added to this locomotive the beautiful gold trim on the running gear, which is just absolutely fantastic. And as you can see, if you put it into the light here, you can see that it glistens. Like, it is a solid gold type of finish that just really makes this engine pop and really screams the early days of the 1900s and early 1920s Art Deco style. We even went on as far as putting it directly on the pilot wheels as well. So it's 2 different layers of the gold on there, which just really makes it pop. We also added, compared to the cataloged version, is we added red windows, which is really nice. And then the last thing we added was the builder's plate in the red finish, which looks absolutely beautiful. So now that we have the engine all fired up, ready to go, I want to showcase some of the features here real quick. I'm not going to go through too many of them because it's standard Lionel at this point. It's what, as you guys know, with the Legacy package, it's going to have everything you would expect from Lionel at this point. However, I do want to showcase you guys on the Lion Chief app, if you guys have this engine, we were able to get the render of the locomotive to be exactly how you see on the model. So we have the Russian iron boiler blue on the Camelback render on the app, which is really nice, exclusive to this engine only, which is really nice. But besides that, let's go through some of the sounds and features real quick. So as you guys know, this engine has whistle steam. But it doesn't just have that one whistle. So as now with a lot of other Lionel engines, it has other horns or whistles. So what I'm going to do now is change the pitch of the whistle. This has 4 or 5 different options you can choose from. So we'll go from the lowest to the highest. My personal favorite is the hooter. Then you also have a couple different bells. Well, that was an interesting bell. I'm going to leave that in. So the engine also has a couple crew talk options.
Dispatcher, arrived and standing by. Over.
Very good. Hold for track orders. Dispatcher out.
Dispatcher, am I cleared to the outbound? Over.
Hold for signal indication. Dispatcher out.
Dispatcher, we're ready. Is it okay to pull? Over.
Take the green. Out.
All right, so with that concludes all the features that the engine also has to have. I do also want to note, when you have the engine on, you also get a nice cab interior, which lights up. And then if you look on the back with the firebox glow comes on with flickering lights, which is really cool. And the main thing I want to mention, the marker lights also have different versions. So you have the green ones that you see here, but you can also change them on a Legacy remote to have the white option. So other than that, this is a fantastic jam-packed engine that's definitely worth the investment if you guys are looking for one of these. But yeah, now let's hook it up to a couple Long Island cars and roll her out.
Here's a dance you ought to do. Let me introduce to you. Everybody go. Here's a dance you ought to do. Let me introduce to you. Everybody go.
So that's going to wrap it up for this review. As you guys can see, this is a phenomenal engine by Lionel. They really outdid themselves, and it's also worth saying a big thank you to Lionel for working with us here at the NASA Lionel Operating Engineers to produce what, in my opinion, is the best Camelback that came out of this run. This is an absolutely stellar, gorgeous-looking locomotive, and it's sure to wow and amaze anyone, and it has fantastic features that you can get at a really awesome price point. So from that being said, thanks to Anthony for letting me borrow his locomotive. I'm going to steal this from him after this video stops recording. But that being said, thanks to him for letting me showcase this to you guys tonight. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.